There was a man who said, such and such a person has a violent disposition. But this is what I said right to his face. This was an unbecoming thing to say. And it was said simply because he wanted to be known as a rough fellow. It was rather low, and it can be seen that he was still rather immature. It is because a samurai has correct manners that he admired. Speaking to other people in this way is no different from an exchange between low-class spearmen. It is vulgar. This podcast is not about views. This podcast is not about likes or shares. This podcast is a call to action to build a community. This podcast is hopefully a means to curate knowledge from those who may not be with us. We all suffer that impermanence, that we will at some point in time not be with us. And the idea is just a catalog, because perspective is what is important within martial art. My perspective on a throw or a lock being different from yours, those two perspectives coming together is how we figure it out. I'm reminded of the story of a student and a master, where the student says to the master, "When you're gone, what do I do? When you're gone, I don't want to learn from another master. I don't want to find another teacher or coach. So what do I do?" And it was at night, and the master took the student outside, had him look up at the stars. And he said, "What do you see?" And the student said, "I see a sky full of stars." And the master said, "Okay. But what I see is the light of every teacher, every master that has ever come before us. And I believe that that light shines as long as their instruction is taught on this earth." And I'm also reminded of a Taoist belief that a person has 3 deaths that they experience in their life. And death 1 is when we physically die and leave this specific vessel. Death 2 is when we are put to rest by our family and friends. Those that care about us have lowered us into the ground. And death 3 is when their name is spoken for the last time. It has been an egregiously heavy week, guys. Egregiously heavy. No, I haven't lost anybody. Yes, I'm okay. But that doesn't mean that it hasn't been heavy. It's all the same. It's all the same. Teachings from a very wise man, every bit of 20 or 25, maybe even 30 years ago, lessons landing on a young, spontaneous, young boy, who wanted nothing more than to conquer himself feel safe, and understand the world around him through the technique of Kung Fu. It's all the same. A front kick is a front kick is a front kick. A thrust punch is a thrust punch is a thrust punch. It's all the same. Death or depression, it's all the same. Worry, all the same. Let's build community and let's stop talking bad about each other. I have a great podcast for you today. I am ever grateful and ever enamored by this network of colleagues that are coming together for this podcast. It is a blessing. It is an amazing experience. I hope you all enjoy it. I hope you all get something out of it. If you are a martial artist and would like to be a part of this podcast, if you are friends of a martial artist that you think would be a good fit for this podcast, if you're a martial artist and would like to call me a prick or an asshole or tell me that I'm wrong, you can do so at keepkickingpod@gmail.com. I want you all to keep training. I want you all to keep networking. I want you all to meet your friends in arms. We have more things in common than we do in difference. Keep kicking, guys.
Keep kicking, never quitting. Focus sharp like a blade that's hitting. From white belt dreams to the master flow, Paul Coffey's got the mic, now the stories grow. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Old school, new school, all styles blend. From the mat to the mic, where the arts ascend. Philosophy deep, but the vibe stays tight. Martial minds meeting in the podcast light. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins. Technique entails discipline and fire. Each guest brings truth to inspire. Keep kicking, step into your power. Keep kicking, moment to the hour. Every strike, every fall, every rise. It's a journey through a warrior's eyes. Keep kicking. Keep kicking. Paul Coffey leads and the journey begins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to Keep Kicking, the martial arts podcast where I have martial arts conversations with my martial arts friends. And today I sit with Adrian. Adrian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you for having me. My name is Adrian Hipolito. I'm the head instructor of the Escrima program at Dragon's Den MMA in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've been practicing martial arts since I was 6 years old. I'm 30 now, and I've just defined my entire journey by the white belt mentality. Always something to learn, and I'm chasing it endlessly.
Yes, wonderful. What got you started in martial arts 6 years old?
So my story's not unique. Bullies. I was a much smaller kid than everybody else. They would throw around the word lollipop at me because I had a big head with a tiny body, right? So just a pretty easy target. But at the time, my dad had gotten me really into comic books, and growing up in the '90s, I had the Batman animated series where I saw, hey, this guy has no powers. He doesn't. Yeah, exactly. Speaking of, yeah, exactly. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Speaking my language now.
So I'm reading these comics and watching the shows. Nobody messes with Batman, so there must be something to this. So I enrolled with at one of Ernie Reyes's schools when I was about 6 years old. Followed that path until life happens. When you're a kid, you don't get to make the decisions on where you go, where you don't go. So when it came time to up and move from one house to the other, I had to move on from that school and find tutelage elsewhere.
Mm-hmm. Where did you move from there?
So at the time, I'd moved from Union City, California to San Jose, and that's where I had started with Ernie Reyes. But
Mm-hmm.
then San Jose, I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Bay Area, but San Jose, massive city, so I would move the from the northern side over to the east side where there was a lot less options and a lot more
Mm.
backyard instruction. So a lot of what I learned from there was from uncles of a friend who used to box back in the day, or if I got lucky, someone knew a little bit of judo or somebody had wrestled in high school. And
Mm-hmm.
I pursued that until I found capoeira through a friend of mine who had practiced the art, and I needed to do something,
Right.
anything martial related, just to scratch that itch, because at that point I'd fallen in
Mm-hmm.
love with it, you know.
Yeah.
So capoeira led to exposure to Shaolin Kung Fu, to Mantis Kung Fu, and really it was
Mm-hmm.
just uh, getting whatever scraps that I could, where I could. Uh, None of these
Mm-hmm.
were ranked. Really, it was just what do you have that I could practice myself and kind of make something of
Mm-hmm.
for myself. The first time I actually had started acquiring rank was with Sam Montgomery Taekwondo when I had moved back to the East Bay, uh, and from there I was there maybe 4 years, four
Mm-hmm.
years before there were some um, philosophical differences. I was a martial arts nomad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Part of it was that natural teenage rebellion, but I knew
Sure.
exactly what kind of martial artist I wanted to be, and I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
learn it all. And I wasn't interested in disrespecting anybody. So if that's how he runs his house, then so be it. I that's his way of doing things, and I had to respect that because I liked him, respected him, um,
Mm-hmm.
but I had to follow my own path, you know. So
We all have to make our own path, and I'm gonna say that I hear you defend your art in a way that I want to assure you you don't have to do to me. The instructions that you have from people's uncles in their garages and in the backyards are just as effective as those in a school that you paid for, sometimes even more effective, more genuine. I don't like the way our current martial arts climate is, to where they discredit things just because of that.
hmm
Because that's how it started, man. That's how it was. Families teaching families, and would let a couple of neighbors in the backyard.
hmm
And there are a lot of styles. I'm about to pick up Doyle Irish stick fighting, and Irish stick fighting was families in backyards doing Irish stick fighting, or capoeira, like you said.
hmm
A lot of capoeistas, like when the art started,
right.
it was, slaves dancing to hide the moves, and that was in small groups. So I don't discredit that. I think in some ways and in some capacities that makes your journey, um, I won't say better, it makes it more rich.
I like that.
you know
I like that.
makes it more rich. um, and I will also say for my listeners that you've said the best thing because of the Batman stuff, and this podcast is over because you win. No, I'm joking.
Call that a
Right. So, tell me about when you started teaching.
teaching. I kind of fell into completely by accident because um, my so I'd practiced martial arts for a long time, but I didn't start
Mm-hmm.
considering myself a martial artist until I had picked up Kajikembo from my uncle, who was a long time Kajikembo grandmaster who
Mm-hmm.
taught not traditional Kajikembo, but his own blend, I guess, of his own experiences. So
Mm-hmm.
be it was myself and my two older cousins training with him, but they, moved on. They had gone on to continue their journeys, so it was just me as kind of his right hand for a long time. So when new students would come along, whether it was for one day or 6 months or a year, however long they lasted, he would just, okay, Adrian, go show them this, that, third, and I'm like, you mean what I just learned like yesterday? Because I'm an orange belt at the time, so
Mm-hmm.
white, yellow, orange in the Kachikemba system. So I'm like, you know, I'm not going to say no. So
Right. Right.
that was when I was about 20, and it was a lot of trial and error. You kind of start realizing that they don't. Not everybody learns the same. I'm a very
Sure.
kinetic individual, and because I'd practiced martial arts for years prior to that, it was a little easier for me to understand small adjustments that I needed to make for corrections. But how do I explain that same
Mm-hmm.
thing to someone who has never thrown a punch or never even attempted a kick prior to today?
Sure.
So I had to learn the language
Sure.
of teaching, the separate art that is teaching.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That also, how did that inform your actual martial art?
that made me want to. That made me more of a student of the art, as
Mm,
cyclical as that is, because they're asking me questions. Why do we do this? I had to give them an answer. So
right.
uh, I had to go further in my studies and ask my instructors, hey, why do we do this? And because I told you so, isn't a good enough answer for me. So,
Absolutely not a good enough answer.
so
How'd you get to Arnase, which you currently teach?
dumb luck, which I think just becomes the title of my autobiography at this point. I
Okay.
wanted to learn Escrima first, but my uncle came around just as I was starting to look for an instructor, and for convenience and I'm practicing something at least. I was with my uncle until I transferred to the school that I'm currently at, Dragon's Den, um, whose owner is a direct disciple of my uncle's. So there was that maintaining the lineage kind of thing. It's not like I was
Yeah.
jumping from one expression to the other. Um, so I moved on from my uncle with his blessings and all that everything.
Mm-hmm.
But then my college schedule got in the way of the Kajikembo classes that I was taking, and like again, had scratched that itch. I got to do something. I need to be training
Mm-hmm.
something to feel like myself. So there was the Escrima class being taught by my Escrima instructor, Goronel Mendoza. Met once a week, small class, and I'm like, you know what? That's that's here for a reason. This
Mm-hmm.
sometimes things just work out that way. So I signed up, and this guy, mountain of a man, 300 something pounds, all just built like a fire hydrant, intimidated the shit out of
Mm-hmm.
me. Ended up being the nicest guy, sweetest dude. Just happened to have hands like a baseball catcher's mitt. So,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
he's all like, "Hey, if you're interested, uh, let's meet up on Saturdays or Sundays, whatever works, and get some extra practice in." Because immediately I'm like, I need to learn this ASAP. I
Mm-hmm.
love this. So, um, as fate would have it, COVID-19 became an issue. The world shut down, and I was out of work for maybe 4 months. But my
Mm.
instructor was still working at the time, but maybe a 10-minute drive from my house. So he would take his hour-long lunches over at my house. We would train 5 days a week, and then he would just shoot right back to work after that. No,
That's awesome.
yeah, one-on-one instruction with the
Mm-hmm.
source itself. So 3 years into my Escrima journey, and he pulls me in one day into the office, and he says, "Hey, my work schedule is changing, and I won't be able to meet the scheduling demands of teaching this class. So if you, Adrian, don't take it up, I'm gonna have to close it down."
Whoa.
So I'm like, "Well, how am I supposed to say no to that?" So
Right.
so he's all like, "All right, well, tonight's your first night. I gotta go." Yeah, all right.
Trial by fire.
Yeah, no kidding. So the first year was tough for me because I was trying to find who I was as an instructor, and in a
Sure.
way that felt authentic rather than putting on performance. So
We typically perform as though we are our instructors.
exactly,
We're trying to like mirror them or do something until we find our own. So
yeah,
but
and
it's good that you being aware of it means that you can find it faster. So that's really good. So is stick fighting the perfect style? What's the
it's probably the most fun that I've had training in martial arts, because you could do some cool shit with a stick. Some anywhere from legitimate like combative applications all the way to like color guard, where they're spitting the flags and doing all that.
Right.
It works for me because it lies somewhere between super traditional, very formal martial education to exchanging ideas in a parking lot, and it's adaptivity for someone who already has a martial arts background. The way I explain it to my students is, if I go to a Wing Chun class, I think of it like cooking. Wing Chun is this particular dish, right? Taekwondo is this dish here. Boxing is this dish over here. Filipino martial arts I've found not necessarily to be a dish in and of itself, but a seasoning that you add to whatever dish you're already cooking. So if you're a boxer, I have one of my students, he shows a lot of interest in boxing. You'll be learning the boxing, but someone with experience in FMA or familiar principles will see your footwork and that's not traditional Western boxing. There's something behind that, or there's something with that. So it seasons your own personal expression and makes it you, and that's huge for me. I'm big on the idea of using martial arts as a way of expressing your most honest self, right? Because you take two students started on the same day, learning the same thing, training the same amount of hours. Jose over here isn't going to move the same as Jamie over here, because despite learning the same curriculum, the same everything, they're two unique individuals. And the last thing that I want is to try to teach them to move like me.
Right. Absolutely. It's interesting that you said that about the seasoning, because on one of the earlier episodes of this podcast, I had one of my friends on I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, and he's also in Louisville, Kentucky. And we talked about making martial arts gumbo,
Yeah.
and like, gotta put it in a big pot. I had a little bit of my Kempo. I had a little bit of Wing Chun. Gotta let it cook down a little bit. Gotta add some more. So it's interesting that the stick fighting is the seasoning. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that
It's there's arguments about like whether muscle memory is an actual thing or whatever. At least from the martial arts circles that I'm in, there's always someone challenging the science. But some things you just drill so much that it's embedded in you. And I think
What is the argument against it?
that so from my understanding of the anti-muscle memory theorizing is that there's still active thought that needs to be put into your actions. So there is no it moves by itself. There's always that gap between, your brain sending out the signals for your body to react a certain way. So yeah, I've made that same choice.
So, like, the counter argument to that is that, like, this straight punch has been the same, for 32 years. I've been
Mm-hmm.
doing this thrust punch in the same way for 32 years. So my body, it's like, oh, thrust punch, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
It knows it. And so, yeah, I do have to train the improv muscle on how to fight and how to flow these techniques together.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a muscle that then also gets muscle memory in the same capacity as everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I've in 32 years, I've never had anybody be anti muscle memory, and I think I would probably lose my shit.
Well,
I think I would probably just.
Well, I think whether it's a hindrance or benefit, social media has given everybody an opportunity to voice these opinions. So I think we have, the fortune or misfortune of existing in something of a martial arts renaissance now, because now everything is up to question. There's no holy cows in martial arts nowadays. Everything's up to
Sure.
question, which just like anything, you want to understand the why of things. I'm not doing it just because you
Sure.
told me that's how it's done. I need to understand why it
Mhm.
works. Why is this worth me learning? So
Mhm.
it's a good thing, because I think there are some long-standing tenets that do deserve to be called into question, and uh, you we learn and we grow by experimenting. And I think opening up these doors uh, is just the next step in evolution for martial arts. Like 1993, it was the UFC, and that changed the
Mhm.
landscape. So I think 32 years later, we're a little overdue for another
Mhm.
reality check.
You could not have worded that better. And that topic has come up so many different times on this podcast. But I'll say this: what you said, and you said maybe it's for better, maybe it's for worse. It's for better if everybody looks at it the way that you're looking at it. It's for worse when you look at things to discredit them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at things to go, why is that beneficial? Why is, you watch a minute video on Facebook and there's a dozen comments about how horrible this technique is, and no one is sitting here going, why did he feel the need to record himself and put this minute out there? What is he trying to show? In that minute video, he might just be trying to show hip placement or
Mm-hmm.
footwork, and you're too busy looking at his hands. And so I think that's disingenuous. I came up with an idea that if anybody on the internet wants to call anybody else out about a video that they've posted,
Mm-hmm.
they have to do a video rebuttal. And I think, because then you can go, look, I don't think it works because this is the way I do it. And that opens up a better line of dialogue,
I agree. I agree.
than just going, bullshit. Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. You have to be able to articulate why you disagree.
Right. It's not just a disagree and out, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Okay. What is one thing that you think the average martial arts practitioner neglects in their own practice?
Um, the oh man, that's a good one. Because there's so many people doing so many different things now. But if I had
Right.
to pick one, it would be the I think more people need to train outside of their circle, outside of their gym. There's a big push in the NorCal, especially FMA scene, about opening gym doors to each other, and not for the sake of competition, but for the sake of growth as a martial arts community. Because I think the old mentality was, I might have to fight this guy someday. Why would I want him to know what I got going on, or how I move, how I do this? But um, Atticus Finch of To Kill a Mockingbird has a quote that I really like. He says, "A gentleman will not insult me, and no man that is not a gentleman can insult me." So if we put that into a martial arts framework, we we tend to be the most chill guys walking the street.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
We maybe overly polite. We're I'm not saying we're like have a moral authority or a moral high ground at all, but every martial artist I know tends to be the calmest, chillest guy, because when you know that you're confident in a chaotic environment like a violent setting, then it gives you the confidence to be laid back, to be chill, to be relaxed in a situation. Um, so I'm not worried about another martial artist that's dedicated himself to the martial lifestyle as well, trying to start something with me. It's the people that don't have a control of their ego, have issues with their confidence, and feel the need to prove something, that are more of a risk, I think, because
Absolutely.
when martial arts comes up in a lot of contexts, like I work construction, and there's a lot of guys who they they found me on social media, whatever, found out that I'm a martial artist, and my favorite one is, "That karate shit won't work on me," or I would just shoot you, or I'm like,
Right.
why does what I do in my off time make you feel compelled to escalate things because you want to feel like a big guy? You know what I mean?
Right.
So yeah, the guy that is in fight camp, all discipline, one track mind, he's just getting from A to B as far as his goals. I'm not worried about him. He's not looking to start trouble. He's looking to stay healthy, looking to advance and grow as an individual, as an athlete, whatever. It's people that feel like they need to tear others down to build themselves up that I'm training for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I will also say that every martial artist, that other people that are not martial artists experience that exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, you hear somebody go, "You do a kick." That one's a big popular one. I will also say that every person that has ever said, "I would just use my gun," in any capacity, to me, gets the same response.
Mm-hmm.
And I lean very close and I say, "And how close is your gun to you right now?"
That's right.
And most of the time, as a matter of fact, all of the time, because if somebody has a concealed carry and they're carrying, they're not boisterous about it.
Yeah.
So, like, you don't have to worry. They're not going to be like, "I'm going to shoot you," because they'll just do it. You have to,
Yeah, the untrained expose themselves.
The untrained expose themselves. That's the episode. That's this episode's title. Now I like that. Good. What is advice that you would give to somebody that may be watching this podcast that is thinking about martial arts but has not started yet?
That martial arts is not for everybody, but there is a martial art for everybody. Like, try everything if you get the chance. Don't turn away an opportunity for knowledge, but you have to find a martial art that resonates with you in a way that's going to keep you coming back for the next class. If you hate doing something and you're paying to do it, it's costing you to do it, you're going to stop. When I work in construction, sometimes work gets slow. Somebody who drops into class once, twice a month, that's going to be the first thing they cut. So find a martial art that keeps you coming back. It doesn't have to be for rank. It doesn't have to be to kick ass like Batman, but it's got to be something that connects with you in a way. Because the hardest part is just showing up. But if you can if you could just get on the mat, just get through the warm up, you're going to come out in a better mood than when you got there.
Absolutely. That's a great answer. What is one thing that if you could give to all martial arts practitioners, you would? It can be a thought, a concept, a technique, a philosophy.
That it's all the same thing, that the only thing that separates styles and systems is the preferences for methodologies of the instructor. There's only so many different ways that the human body can move, that it really just comes down to how they prefer to kick, how they prefer to punch. It's all principles. Physics doesn't change. I don't care if you're 6'5", 285 or 5'9", 180.
6'5.5",
Yeah.
210.
Oh, you're cutting. All right. It's just that I find that it's so much easier to pick things up when you look at it on a grand scale. You know, obviously focus on what you're learning that day, but when you start seeing that Hubud from FMA, Chi Sao from Wing Chun, and pummeling from wrestling are all the same thing, then I think that opens you up to the possibilities.
Brilliant answer. The next question is, this is a conversation that I'm having currently with just about everybody that comes on. Okay. And it starts with an omission. And the omission is, to be a martial artist, lifelong practitioner, I've always said you have to be equal parts sadistic and masochistic. You know, like that's just who we are as martial artists. It's not a bad thing. It's just, you know, you understand yourself, you can move forward in life a little bit easier. We are those things. How do you teach somebody that is not violent, somebody that is not versed in violence, to defend themselves, to be violent, teach them martial arts? How do you do that?
Well, funny enough, I do have a student that I'm working on that with, and it's a never-ending process because I don't believe you could change someone's nature, but I think flipping that switch and pressing the go button can be taught. So first off, the framework that I used was that the warrior doesn't fight because they hate what's in front of them. They fight because they love what's behind them. So I have kids, and I have my kids with me more often than not. So if trouble arises when I'm out and about, I can't just take off. Hey, let me know how it goes later. See you at home, maybe. So I got to stand and do what I got to do.
Right.
So you have to have a why, and maybe your why is I want to do well in this competition, and my opponent's not afraid of hurting me, so I can't be afraid of hurting them. Maybe it's for just learning a new skill or something. But the flipping that switch is the conscious decision that I need to be okay after this, or what I'm protecting has to be okay with this. So, I have to give myself permission to cause harm to this individual because that's what's getting me out of this. This is obviously after de-escalation. I tell the student, de-escalation isn't an option. You can't run away. This is what you need to do. So eventually you're going to get tired of getting hit. I don't like getting hit.
Right.
So I try to avoid it as much as possible. So you're going to have to hit back, preferably first. So it's not necessarily trying to change their nature, but trying to guide them and help them explore a different side of themselves that they might not have uh, allowed out for fear of punishment,
Mm.
fear of judgment, but letting them know that in with the right context, it is okay to do harm to somebody else, because the alternative is
Sure.
far worse.
Right. Far worse. Hope it goes well with that student. Sounds like he's in good hands. Um, how has martial arts helped you? We're talking about outside the dojo now, so we'll start with work. How has martial arts helped you with work?
Well, as mentioned before, I work in construction, so that means super early mornings, days where my back, knees, everything is just feeling the load that I've carried, and martial arts has benefited me by giving me the discipline to just accept that it's gonna suck. But if I waste my time griping about it, then I'm just postponing the suck. And like,
Mm-hmm.
I, I don't know about anybody else, but when I know I'm going to get punched, it the
Mm-hmm.
anticipation is worse than the actual contact being made. So it's like
For
if
sure.
I tell if I tell whoever, hey, not now, but some point I'm going to punch you right in your nose. Then that walking around with that anticipation of, oh, when's it coming? When's it coming? That that's its own that's its own punishment, right? So
Mm-hmm.
just getting my hands into the BS and just accepting I'm going to hate this. I'm going to be tired. It might hurt,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but it's not going to get done if I don't.
That's
I
right.
can't push it off on the next guy, so I have to do it. And then the humility of becoming and staying the student. In what I do, there's very technical aspects to it. So, um, you where was I? Yeah. So with what I do, it's a lot of technical aspects to it. So making things up to code, up to standard, so on and so forth. So I have to organize. I have to set myself back and be like, hey, I don't know everything. I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
much, or I don't care how much I'm absorbing or is being given to me. I can't start letting myself get complacent because then I get lazy. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so also having a hierarchy, as an apprentice, you have journeymen, you have foremen, all of whom have authority to tell you to stand in a corner all day if that's what they want you to do.
Mm.
Apprentice life, you don't get much autonomy when you're on the clock.
Mm-hmm.
So, I could come in as like Sensei, Grandmaster, Sifu, Darth Vader, whatever the hell, right? All my titles, all my belts. But if coming into this place where I'm the white belt, none of that matters. So when this guy who I could absolutely put him to sleep in fucking 9 seconds with a good rear naked choke or
Mm-hmm.
something, it doesn't matter. He
Right.
needs material, he needs tools. I gotta humble myself and I gotta be that white belt again, which
Right.
is something that I've actually noticed a lot more recently over the last couple of years. Is that these very seasoned, very tenured martial artists. I don't like throwing around the term master a lot, but
Mm-hmm.
these
Right. Right.
long practiced martial artists picking up something new, like my Kajikembo instructor who also owns the gym that I teach at, who he's eighth degree Kajikembo black belt, IMBG Kundo instructor, Dos Zapatos, all these this real nice flowery resume, right? Uh, throws on his Hakama, gets into the Aikido class because he wants to learn something new. He's never done Aikido before. We offer it at our school. He wants to try it out. Or he'll throw on his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu white belt and get on the mat. When he has time, because running a business, you're full-time job
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
But I look at him, and he's
Sure.
51, 52, still great
Mm-hmm.
shape, lives that perpetual white belt mindset, and
Mm-hmm.
it's good for the other students to see. It's good for everybody to see.
Sure.
Hey, the journey doesn't end. There's
Mm-hmm.
an endless list of people that get their black belt, and hey, this is like my high school diploma. Now I don't need to go to college. I'm gonna get right back into whatever, or it's just a milestone in their life, which is cool. Hey, if that was your goal, cool, no problem. But there's so much more after that. There and
Right.
it, I almost feel like it's missing the forest for the trees to stop at black belt and not explore what comes with that now. Now you got the basics.
You,
Now you get to figure out what it means to you.
they're stopping at the beginning.
Exactly.
They're stopping at the beginning. Black belt's the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
How has martial arts affected you as a parent?
Oh man, I was just having this conversation with my son. He's 11 years old, so just getting into middle school. So friends are becoming more important. He's a little more conscious of things that he thinks are cool, and martial arts is not at the top of that list for him. I had to explain to him, look, son, some parents are baseball families, some are football families. Hey, dude, you were in a gi at 3 years old. Sorry, that was luck of the draw, my
Right.
guy. Um,
Right.
so I have my son and my daughter, and when I was coming up under my uncle, my son was born still very young, so I felt like I was really at the beginning of my martial arts journey. So translating that to my son wasn't as effective as like much later, when I was already a little more practiced,
Mm-hmm.
a little more confident in who I was as a martial artist. So uh, he it's not a novelty to him. He's been to tournaments, he's been to seminars, he's been on the mat forever. So it's not cool for him. It's just, oh, that's what my dad does, and by extension him. So he's gone through boxing, Muay Thai, Kajikembo, uh, Jiu-Jitsu, and this school year he's going to be trying out for his school wrestling team. So it's
Okay.
it's normal for him, and even if it's not his passion the way it is for me, at least
Mm-hmm.
I can call it a victory that it's normal for him.
Normal, and he's getting discipline out of it.
Absolutely,
Like
absolutely,
so.
and being around these guys that just spend all their time trying to
Mm-hmm.
improve themselves, trying to build themselves better. I couldn't ask for better role models. They say it takes a village to raise a kid. I've got a hell of
Right.
a village. Just these great
Absolutely.
individuals from all walks of life. Because you might get a cop on the mat, you might get a felon on the
Mm-hmm.
mat. IT worker, construction worker, all walks of life, and
Mm-hmm.
each of them contributes something a little different to my son's perspectives. So,
Sure.
um,
I'll also say
mhm.
your son is also learning muscle memory.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Eh,
So even if he doesn't like it, he's still getting the muscle memory.
Yes, that it had to be
Uh,
second nature for him, and
right.
the just like learning to teach was its own learning curve. Learning how to express martial arts, or how to expose the martial arts to my kids, was its own challenge. My kids are very, very different as far as temperament. My son, very laid back, very easygoing, super chill. He just wants to hang out all day and just have a good time. Whereas my daughter
Mm-hmm.
is the firecracker. She's just so determined to take over the world and look fabulous while she does it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like I had to frame it to my son as, hey man, this is this is a way to stay healthy. This is a way to get exercise, make new friends. And then with my daughter, it's all right. We're going to learn Kajikembo first, and then we're going to start in Australia and just go from there. With our world conquest. The way that they're motivated is very different. So my daughter is just she wants to feel as confident as honestly she sees me as. Martial art
Right.
is a cheat code, really, because like I mentioned, when you know that you're comfortable in the chaotic scramble of that kind of physicality, then it's its own superpower. Because I was having a conversation with one of my black belt friends, Sebak Jason Tamzi, about how sparring especially is an honest conversation. I want to know who you become, how you react when things aren't going your way. When you start feeling that pressure, who are you? Right? So I feel like with training and with the confidence and competence that comes along with it, it allows you to be more honest in your social interactions. Because if the worst thing this guy can do to you is incite violence, but you're already like well adjusted to that area, it doesn't bother you. A lot of people are they choose their words carefully because they're afraid of upsetting whoever they're talking to. They're walking on eggshells. But if I need to say, hey, dude, the way you said something bothered me, and we need to talk about it, then martial arts has given me the confidence to do so. Because I'm not worried if you think that I'm a little B word for like having my feelings hurt or getting offended by something. No, dude, this bothered me, and I want to stay cool with you. So communication is the way that we're going to fix this. If you want to take it another way, then so be it. I'd rather not, but it is what it is. But I'd really like to resolve this because I feel like our friendship is worth working for.
Sure, absolutely. And what I find is interesting is the way that you're talking about how your kids are so fundamentally different. And it reminds me of what you were saying when you started teaching, that you had to learn to communicate for different people learning in different capacities. Do you think that your kids are helping shape that communication skill?
Absolutely. They say that you don't really understand something unless you can explain it to a 5-year-old and your grandmother. Like when I'm teaching adults who been up and walking around for as long as they've been alive, it's a lot easier. They know relatively how their body works, but these kids are growing every day. Their body is changing every day, so it's a little different. They don't have that attention span for to listen to long, drawn out explanations of we do this because of this, so that this happens. No, uh, I gotta try to get them to understand a concept, one without losing them, but also communicate it in a way that they could understand it at their level. So my son, being 11, he gets a little bit more of the, if you like hand fighting, you're trying to create an opening for your follow up, what you're going to do next. But with my daughter, I'm not teaching her principles. I'm not teaching her even really techniques. We're playing games now. Uh, the rules of the game are the confines of the drill, but to her it's not a drill. We're not training. We're having father daughter time. This is how we're bonding. So I have to get creative with it because she'll get bored and she'll want to stop and she won't want to do it again. So like, okay, what if we put it like one I just try to tap her on the shoulder, and she has to stop me by putting her arm up this way or arm up that way. Those are upward blocks, at least in what I do. So, I'm teaching her the muscle memory, um, but gamifying for it, and
Yeah, for
it
sure.
looks a lot like my adult classes because I don't do a lot of I don't do a lot of well, I got to gamify a lot of things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, uh, there's a threshold between play and fighting. Oh, fighting where
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
after once you get beyond that threshold, you stop learning. So with my students, when we're training, we only go maybe 50, 60%, like 90% of the time, because you're afraid of getting whacked and it leaving a massive welt on you. You can't work the next day, or it impedes your life off the mat. Then you're not learning. You're in survival mode at that point.
Sure.
So everything that I just spent the last 45 minutes working with you on goes out the window. So we're going to dial it back so that you're learning as you're practicing. Now, when it comes time for hard sparring, then yeah, we just go, and you're not gonna have a rocky moment. You're not gonna rise to the occasion. You're gonna fall to the level of your training. So we're gonna spend the majority of your training playing games, because you're gonna remember that, and that's something I carry on. That's actually something I learned from my working with my daughter, and just carried on to my adult class.
That's pretty interesting because you may or may not know this already, but traditionally, if you were suffering in some capacity, they would not have you do what you were suffering in. They would have you do something else. So, like for example, a samurai that was not understanding a specific cut with a knife or with a sword, instead of drilling that samurai has to go paint. You got to go paint. Go paint. Because the brush stroke teaches the same as this. Or a gentleman who's having problems with grappling. Don't grapple. Go learn pottery. Learn how to manipulate the clay with your hand, because then you can learn how to manipulate the person, the body, with your hand. So it's really interesting that you make it a game in that capacity, because it's like you're the nomadic, non-conventional martial artist that is doing conventional things traditionally on accident.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Well, I got to be rooted in something, otherwise I have no foundation.
Sure.
So I make a distinction for my students that the system that I teach is not necessarily my fighting style. Those are two different things. The system is the when you're learning when you're developing literacy, you have to learn the sounds that the letters make, and then you learn sight words, and then you're reading basic books, and then you just grow from that point. Hopefully. So the system, the curriculum that I teach, is designed in a way to to develop your literacy, so that you're a black belt now. Go read as many books as you possibly can. Go read all the books, and along the way, you start writing. You're taking notes, because now you can read. You start cultivating your signature. My signature is influenced by my training in the capoeira, which I might whether I still knowingly, consciously use it or not, it's there. It was a part of my journey.
For sure.
The Kung Fu, the Taekwondo, the Wing Chun, Jeet Kune Do, Muay Thai, Kajikembo, Escrima. It's all resulted in my unique expression for when I'm doing what I do. When I'm teaching, I'm not teaching you guys to move like me. I don't want you to move like me. I'm going to give you the building blocks so that you can start learning how you move. So
absolutely.
So as progressive as I would like to pretend to be, There needs to be there needs to be roots. There needs to be a foundation, and
For sure.
once you get past that, well, not past that, but once you establish that foundation, you just keep building on it. Yeah. For in construction, you can't build anything on an unstable foundation. Every floor you try to stack on it is going to come crumbling down. So your foundation has to be set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I was gonna bring it back to your construction, because you could build a foundation,
Mm-hmm.
but you pour the concrete, you might not have gotten the concrete all from the same store,
Yeah.
or the concrete might come pre-mixed in trucks and it might be two different trucks for one foundation,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still a solid foundation if it's poured properly, you know? So like my foundation as a martial artist is Shaolin Kempo, because I started Shaolin Kempo when I was 10 and I did that I still do Kempo to this day. So like, and that's not the only thing that I do, but I built a foundation with Kempo. You've built a different foundation.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, one is not more valid than the other.
I agree.
And then you and I picked different things and started building walls. And so, I have a Wing Chun room. You have a Kung Fu room. I have a Japanese Jiu-Jitsu room. You have you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, there's nothing that my house can be just as firm, just as secure as your house. And it just looks different on the outside, as houses do.
Mm-hmm. The important part is that weathers the storm.
That's right. Weathers the storm.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. So I keep these at about an hour. Is there anything you didn't get a chance to say that you would like to say?
Really just that although I teach, my occupation in the martial arts world is technically that of a teacher. I'm a guru in FMA, so instructor. But my my perspective of where I am is always that of a student. And I think that puts me in a position as to where I can comfortably go from one school of thought to another as respectfully as I can, and gain something from it. There's there's martial arts that get a lot of flack for their perceived ineffectiveness, but sure. I'm not smart enough to do everything, but I'm dumb enough to try anything. I'll benefit from it somehow.
Love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
I've even with my students, I don't try to make myself out to be the all-knowing master of combat. You don't need to. All you need is what I have to teach you, and you'll be good. Set to go. I've ended up in situations like that, and being the nomad that I am, I was going to keep going anyway. So there was a Kali group that I was a part of for a good while, getting ready to test for my black belt. It was in the coming weeks, and my instructor, whose personal system is what I currently teach, he gives me the idea of, all right, this is how it's going to go down. This is what the test looks like. This is the format, all this and that, because it's in front of a panel of Kali black belts. But then he told me that one of the things was that when you sign not a contract, but an agreement, like essentially pledging your allegiance solely to the Kali group. And I was thinking about it, and I feel like it would be more disrespectful to dishonestly wear that hat when it's not my intention to stop there and just stay there forever. I don't.
You open a bag of worms and we'll make this podcast go over. But in addition to what you're saying, like how it feels disingenuous, I don't want to signing allegiance that is not who I am, and I couldn't do that. We also have had the conversation. It feels to me like systemic oppression.
Yes.
It feels to me like if I taught whatever I taught, XYZ out my garage or at a school that's a brick and mortar school that I rented, and I had my black belt sign some sort of an allegiance to me, it feels like I am exercising systemic oppression in a way that it's like, you can't do that because that goes against this contract. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Do you get that vibe?
Absolutely. It's I feel like it's just oppression of our
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say rights because that gets thrown around a lot, and that's another can of worms.
Right.
But it's
For sure.
it's insulting to me as another grown man for one, but also another human being with the choice.
Right.
You know, if I this is America, if I'm
Sure.
paying you my money, then that's uh
Right.
that
The end of the contract.
exact I pay you, you teach me. That's I don't
Right.
expect a card at Thanksgiving, and you know, don't
Right.
expect one either. You know, if it goes beyond
Right.
that, great. Because you know, I've just like I'm sure you have. I've met a lot of great friends through martial arts, but none of them ever
Absolutely.
asked me to sign a contract for their friendship.
Right. Right. You can only be my friend. Sign this paper.
Yeah, exactly. And
That's
that's kind of
what
what
you're talking
it
about.
sounded like. I'm like, you know, you're not going to tell me that this is all I will ever need. I don't
Mm-hmm.
see any
Mm-hmm.
grappling. I don't see any clinching. There's,
Right.
you know, there's a lot of stuff here that, you know, your guys are great at this one aspect, and I'm so grateful
Mm-hmm.
that I learned what I did from them, and so grateful for a lot of them because it's the organizational structure that I had an issue with, not the people themselves. But
Mm-hmm.
I needed to get away from that archaic philosophy. And when it
Sure.
came time to teach my own students, I wanted to make sure that I wasn't that. So I'm straight up with
Sure.
them. I haven't done it all. I'm never going to claim to. And if I ever do start talking like I have all the answers, I need you guys to find another school because
Mm-hmm.
I've obviously lost my way. So I tell them I can't teach them everything. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I might not have the answer for this situation that, you know, God forbid, one of my students ends up in. So I would rather
Mm-hmm.
them just be safe, even if I'm not the one that's, you know, that's teaching, that's helping them in that manner, right? Go learn everything. And
Absolutely.
matter of fact,
Absolutely.
come show us too, because I probably don't know it. I would like to learn too.
Absolutely. Um, yeah. So you know what's interesting about systemic oppression in martial arts is that it exists a lot of places.
Yeah.
You know, like if you look at Tai Chi and you read Tai Chi classics, there's proof that Tai Chi was one solid system,
Mm-hmm.
and then they split it up and divided it up amongst families. Or Irish stick, right? I'm, I interviewed a guy who teaches Irish stick, and I'm about to start Irish stick fighting. And the thing that I thought was most interesting about the interview with the guy who does Irish stick fighting is he's an Irish man, and he had to find Irish stick fighting in Canada because it doesn't exist in Ireland. And we're back. Sorry about the technical difficulty. Is there anything else that you need to say that you wanted to say?
No, just everybody that's listening, just keep showing up and treat your black belt the way you would treat your white belt, and treat your white belt with the same respect that you would treat a black belt.
Yes, let's grow. I mean, you said no, and then you just dropped science. Is what you just did. Awesome. Where can people find you?
So I teach Dragon's Den MMA in Union City, California. If you find me on social media, you can do so. Instagram, dragonsticks_DDMMA or dragonsticksfma.com.
Awesome. I want to thank all of the listeners for taking the time to listen to this podcast. I hope you got something out of it. I want to thank you, Adrian, for being a part of this podcast. And also, like everybody else, because you sat and had this conversation with me, you're now a part of my martial arts journey, whether you like it or not. And I thank you for that as well.
Happy to be here.
Everybody, thank you again. Keep kicking. The conversation with Adrian reminds me of a discussion that was had amongst some of my peers about the conversation of enlightenment. And it was said to me that only a monk can achieve the awakening, can achieve enlightenment. And that's because they have the time to dedicate to the thing. They spend 8 hours conditioning mind and body and training, and that's their job. And my rebuttal was that they're not the only ones that can achieve the awakening, but they're the only ones that the awakening is documented on because of those around them. I asked you at the beginning of this podcast to create community. I'm doubling down on that. I want you to create community, but I want you to think about it from a different perspective. I want you to think about it from the perspective that I just gave you. And that's that we have this lens that martial arts only works if it's displayed a certain way. And for most of us, that lens is martial arts only works if it's displayed the way that I know it. And that's not the case. I know that when I was talking on this podcast, I specifically said, it doesn't matter if you have a brick and mortar school. It doesn't matter if you're out of a garage or a field. Training and intention and thought process, those are the things that matter. I want you all to build community. You will find it enriching. I promise you. Reach out to people, send that friend request, send that message, have a conversation, train online, take the trip, train in person, paint the painting, write the book, make the movie. Live the life. Do it, guys, because it's not getting easier. And sitting around, you don't have more time. Okay? I love you all, and I thank you so very much for being a part of my journey. Keep kicking.